Hey everyone, this is Scott Ottman from DirectResponseContentMarketing.com, and I'm here today with another lesson on attention that can help you as a marketer to figure out how to capture more people's attention to your marketing. What I want to talk to you about today is what I'm calling the attention-getting lessons that marketers can learn from John Lee Dumas. If you're not aware of who John Lee Dumas is, he's a very popular podcaster of a podcast called Entrepreneur on Fire. And I'll get to him in a second. But first, I want to start with a story that happened back when I was 10 years old and I was in Alabama. I was in Alabama with my dad, with my grandparents, and we were at a lake fishing. And my dad and I were both sitting there waiting for the bobbers to start bobbing. We're having a good time talking, and all of a sudden my bobber starts bobbing. And so I yank the pole and I start reeling it in, and I end up reeling in this pretty good size trout. And as my dad is taking the trout off of the hook, he pulls the trout off and there's a small minnow on the hook. And he looks over at me and he says, "You're using worms for bait, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And he pulls the minnow off of the hook and there's a worm. And that's when we realized what happened. The minnow had come along, bit the worm, and I didn't notice it because it was so small. I didn't see the bobber bobbing. And then the trout came along and bit the minnow. And we both realized in that moment, I caught two fish on one hook. Now, I would never suggest you, if you would like to catch two fish, to try to do it on one hook. Instead, I would suggest that you use two hooks on one line, or you use two poles. Now, there's a very important lesson for us today as marketers who are trying to capture attention. And that goes back to John Lee Dumas. John Lee Dumas, when he decided to put out his podcast, decided, I need to capture the attention of the most people possible. So instead of just doing one podcast a week, which is what most podcasters do, I'm going to do a podcast 7 days a week. That way I capture the attention of the most possible people. Now think about that. He decided to put 7 lines in the water, 7 poles in the water, so he has 7 opportunities to capture people's attention. And just so you don't misunderstand, John Lee Dumas's podcast is content marketing. It's marketing for himself. It's marketing for all of his products and services that he offers. And so it's literally marketing. And the lesson for us today is if we want to increase the attention on our content marketing or our copy, then we need to consider the lesson from John Lee Dumas and that lesson of putting more poles in the water. There's 2 ways to do that. The first way is to use the same bait in different lakes. What do I mean by that? One thing I mean by that is to make sure that the content that you're creating or the copy that you're creating is found in other places. When I would create content on my website, recessionsolution.com, it was in one place. And I decided that I would start to syndicate my content. So it began to appear on business2community.com and curati.com and other places. And so that same bait was ending up in other places. Another thing I did is instead of just writing blog posts for my own website, I started to write for other websites like contentmarketinginstitute.com and marketinginsidergroup.com. And so that my same bait was ending up in other lakes so that it had more of a chance to capture attention. You can do the same thing with your copy, with your ads. Your Facebook ads can appear on Instagram and in print and other places. And the second lesson that we can learn is to use different bait in the same lake. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is to take the type of bait that you're already offering. Let's say you're creating content in the form of text or copy in the form of text. Take that and change it into audio or change it into video. One of the reasons I'm doing video is because I realize some of you will never read anything I write because you're not readers. And so I'm taking the type of content that I would normally create and I'm putting it in video format. And by doing that, I'm having the chance to reach a whole nother audience of people. And the secret is that the information that I'm talking to you about today, the lesson I'm sharing today was originally a blog post years ago. But I've taken that bait and I've put it in a new format. So it's a different type of bait, so I can reach a different audience and get their attention. So that's the lesson for today. If you've not seen my other videos, I'd encourage you to check them out, especially the first one on the importance of return on attention. There's attention getting lessons from The Voice. There's attention getting lessons from Avengers Endgame and others. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I also want to give this one last point. I don't know when you're going to see this video, but I have also decided to take this video and also post it directly on LinkedIn and directly on Instagram, because I want to take the bait and pop it into other lakes. So again, I'm trying to apply that same lesson. Hope you like this video. Share it. Tell your friends about it. And stay tuned for more.